Alright, what is going on, guys? It's Oink here, bringing you once again seasonals for this week as of 22nd of November 2012. This is the 500 performance points British lightweights. You'll find it on the furthest left, of course, under seasonal events. I'm going to show you all of the tracks, what I set up with, and the car I used, and all that good stuff. So the entry requirements are a maximum 500 performance points, tyres maximum of comfort soft, has to be a normal car, under 1,200 kilograms and from the United Kingdom. Tracks, we got Grand Valley East, Trial Mountain Circuit Reverse, Fuji Speedway, we've got Monaco, Côte d'Azur, whatever you want to call it, and we've got a Toscana Custom right at the end. Okay. The typical opponents here, due to the restrictions, are generally Lotuses, some TVRs, that sort of thing. There's obviously a few different things that you can use, but the car that I have chosen to go with is the premium Lotus Elise 111R. As I said before, I do like to use premiums where possible, and I'm going to go now into how the setup is. So, obviously max out on the comfort soft tyres. Brakes just left the same. Suspension, in here I've dropped the ride height fairly significantly. Most of the customizations I've done here is really to reduce the likelihood of oversteer. Tightened both the rear and the front springs by about 2.0 roughly. You can probably check it with the default. I also increased the dampeners extension at the back by 1 and increased the roll bars on the front and back by 2. Up to 3 in total. As I said, this will give it just generally more stability and just help stop it putting it into a spin there. Fully upgrade the clutch and the flywheel, of course. Actually also customized the limited slip diff this time. Increased the initial torque up to 20, acceleration sensitivity up to 45, and braking sensitivity up to 35. Again, this would just stop the limited slip diff coming into play too much, and just basically stopping those outer wheels from putting too much power down than needed, and again increasing the amount that we're going to be oversteering. So that should be nice. And basically I've got the turbo kit, and just max out your performance points to 500, of course, and keep it tuned down each time it gets increase in power. And I've got the rear wing at downforce of 20. So as I said, just max out up to 500 performance points on upgrades. I did have the high revs turbo though, to get it up. The prize for this is the Bentley Speed 8. This is an insane prize given what the race is about. It doesn't seem to match. It's not lightweight. It's not sort of a medium powered sports car or anything. I don't get it. I mean, it's British, that's about it. But this car is amazing. This is an incredibly good prize given the race. So definitely a worthwhile one to go for gold in this. First track then, Grand Valley Speedway. I actually had quite a bit of difficulty on this. When I first came into this, I was using a Lotus Esprit V8, and it just didn't handle well enough for this. And Lotus Elise just handles incredibly. It's just so lightweight, you can really fly around the corners. The crucial thing is just not to watch out on the accelerator. Just try not to be too aggressive with it. It can handle phenomenally well, but that doesn't mean you can go full throttle around every corner. Corners like that one, really just make sure you're turning it early and keeping it nice and steady. It can induce a bit of understeer coming out on that corner actually, but just make sure you're not sort of flicking the steering inwards. If using a wheel, don't sort of flick the wheel, or don't turn too sharply if you're using an analog stick, anything like that, just because that will just whip the back of the car out and really put it into a spin. In terms of settings, by the way, I'm using ABS set at 1 and everything else turned off completely. That's the usual setup that I take, and works out just fine. If you really are struggling, of course, you can always turn on the skid recovery, but is not something that I found was needed in this particular event. Anyway, like I said, just make sure you're not putting the power down too much or too early. Try and keep in higher gears if you need to stop yourself oversteering. Keep the revs lower if it really feels like the car is slipping out on the exit of corners and things like that. And again, just try and keep it as smooth as possible. That way you really won't spin the car and you can actually keep it really fast. This one came right down to the wire, as you can see. A very tough one I found. It wasn't the perfect of laps in this race, but I got him literally on the last straight there. So a pretty tough challenge, that first race. And but I did manage to get it in the end there. Trial Mountain is track number 2. This is again a relatively difficult one. Generally difficulty, I would say, is quite high for this event. Trial Mountain, again, there's a lot more friendly canvassers, I would say. They really help you get around the corners at faster speeds, but again, you just want to watch out for the oversteer. I mean, the setup is one that, you know, allows you to hopefully not oversteer too much, but just keep an eye on that accelerator. Don't get too overly aggressive on it. On the corners with the yellow stripes on them, you'll see like this one here. If you brake early and turn in early, you can get right on the inside of those corners and just accelerate through and just get an absolute amazing amount of speed. And the AI seem to just completely avoid the inside of the corners on that. For that one and this one, just after the tunnel, you can do that and really pick up a lot of time on those two. So be sure you're hitting those perfectly. You can see here I pick up 3rd position on lap 4 out of 5, with 2nd just ahead of me. Coming round the bend there with 2nd and 1st just ahead of that guy. I'm hitting 142s, 143s, that sort of time. I even get 141 there. And I actually pick up 1st place coming out of the tunnel on the last lap. So again, only 1 or 2 corners remaining around that, and it again can be a bit of a challenge, this one. So make sure you're getting your laps really smooth and really just precise here. Track number 3, Fuji Speedway. This was one of the easy ones of the set this week. Again, I generally say this with the tracks which have got lots of straight sections, they generally tend to be easier because the AI just don't power their cars that much, and you know, there's no room for, I mean, you can't make a mistake on a straight, you just go flat out and there you have it. So I'm not going to show too much to keep the length of the video down a little bit. Basically just keep it nice and smooth, make sure you're braking early enough on the exit from the straight there so you don't fly right off the end. Obviously slipstream through the straight there, and I take 1st at the end of lap 4, so a whole lap in the lead. Really should be no problem whatsoever on that track, so hopefully that won't be too much of a challenge. Côte d'Azur here, the Monaco circuit. This one really is really tough, this one. I honestly thought I wasn't going to be able to do it today. I have work, well, as of right now, in 1 hour's time. It's really tight. I got up at 8 o'clock this morning so that I could actually play all these and edit them before I had to leave for work at 2 o'clock, so I had like 4 or 5 hours or something to get all of this done. And after playing this one a couple of times, I thought it wasn't going to be possible, just because it was just so tough, but I did manage to get it in the end, with actually a bit of time to spare. Make sure on this corner here you're avoiding the paving stones there, the rumble pads, whatever you want to call them, just because if you bump over them, if you try and shortcut it, it can just pop the suspension up, and as you drop down you put into a slide, you just slip the car around, and you don't really want to do that if possible. It's all about getting the lines right, making sure you're not clipping the walls. That's a hugely important factor. If you hit those walls, you will lose a lot of speed, so make sure you're just keeping it really nice and tight. And as I said, knowing which gear to be in, whereabouts you want to be positioning yourself for the next corners, things like that, where you want to be braking. Just because it's one of those ones where you just need to get everything right. If I was watching my replay back, and obviously I make mistakes. When I play this game, I'm not perfect by any means. But I was watching my replay back, and you can really see that this is the one that I won, because it was just a really, each lap, time after time, I was hitting the corners, I was hitting the right angles, the right lines that I needed to be taking, and it was just, it was good laps consistently, and that's really what you need to be doing here. As I said, I struggled early on, and I was, ending up 10-20 seconds behind him on the last lap, and it's just about getting that consistency and that overall speed continuously throughout this track. So just be sure that you're doing that, keep practicing, and as you can see, I take 1st about halfway round the last lap there, so I did have a bit of time, but even one mistake can really prevent you from being able to win this one. So I do wish you the best of luck with that one, but hopefully you won't find it impossibly difficult. This last track, as usual, I must add, is a bit of a joke. It's so ridiculously easy that it's not even worth mentioning, so again, I'm going to keep this short. The limited slip diff is actually, funnily enough, going to be really handy here, because all these cambers, the inside wheels, lift off quite a little bit as you throw it round, and so having that limited slip diff will hopefully help you not to oversteer into the inside of the corners. Actually, I've got a clip of that just now. As you can see here, just putting a tiny bit too much power and it just slides, the back end comes in and I'm facing the inside. So that limited slip diff settings that I use hopefully will help you not to do that too much. But again, I took first after lap 3, so very, very easy last track. So I hope you guys found this helpful and enjoyed the video. I'll catch you guys soon. Peace.